name is Elieeyzah Binti Mohd Faizal. In this video, I'll be sharing my experience attending a Hispanic culture event held at the Grey Box, KL. I'll be reflecting on the event using Hofstede and Trompenaars cultural frameworks to better understand the behaviours and value I observe. Let's begin with the objective. Before I dive into what happened at the event, let me first walk you through the objective of this reflection. The first objective was to explore the social behaviours and values of the Hispanic community, especially in a cultural event setting. I wanted to observe how they interact, how they express themselves, and what values stand out during the social gatherings. The second objective was to analyze those interactions using two key theoretical frameworks we've learned in class: Hofstede Cultural Dimension and Trompenaars 7 Dimension of Cultures. These models really helped me make sense of what cultural patterns I observe. And finally, the third objective was to reflect critically on my own experience during the event. It wasn't just about observing others, but also about being aware of how I responded to those cultural differences, what I learned, and what challenged me, and what surprises me. Together, these objectives guided how I engaged with the event and how I approached this entire reflection. For this presentation, I'll be focusing on topic 2, culture and its role in multinational operations. This topic is highly relevant to the event I attended, as it highlights how cultural differences like communication styles, time perceptions, and social behavior can influence interactions. Let me briefly explain 6 of the Hofstede cultural dimensions that I used to analyze the event. First, power distance. This refers to how comfortable people are with unequal powers. In high power distance countries like Mexico, South Korea, and India, people tend to obey authority and follow centralized system. In contrast, countries like Austria, Finland, and Ireland prefer equality and flatter organizational structures. Second, uncertainty avoidance. This is about how people handle uncertainty or ambiguity. Countries like Germany, Japan, and Spain have high uncertainty avoidance. They prefer clear rules, structure, and expert guidance. Meanwhile, places like Denmark and the UK are more open to risk, change, and flexible system. Third, individualism and collectivism. Individualistic cultures like the US, Canada, and Sweden, people are focused on personal goals and independence. In collectivist cultures such as Indonesia and Pakistan, group loyalty, seniority, and community are more important than individual ambitions. Masculinity versus femininity. This dimension looks at what values a society prioritizes. In masculine cultures like Germany and Austria, success, achievements, and competitions are highly valued, often resulting in more job stress. In feminine cultures like Norway, people emphasizes cooperation, quality of life, and caring for others with a focus on well-being and work-life balance. Time orientation. This is about how societies view time and plan for the futures. Countries like China and Japan have a long-term orientation. They value saving, patience, and adaptability for future gains. In contrast, countries like the US and UK focus more on short-term results, valuing immediate outcomes, leisure, and spending. Indulgence versus restraint. This describes how much freedom people have to satisfy their desire. High indulgence countries like US, UK, and Australia encourage living in the moment and enjoying life. Meanwhile, restrained cultures like Egypt and Romania are more controlled by social norms and tend to delay gratification. Now that we've looked at Hofstede culture dimension, I'll move on to Trompenaars 7 dimension of culture, which offer another perspective of how people behave across different societies. Let's start with the first 3. Universalism versus particularism. In universalist culture, like the US, Canada, and the Netherlands, rules and standards are applied equally to everyone, no matter the relationship. But in particularist culture, such as China and South Korea, personal relationships often shape how rules are applied, and people may adjust decisions depending on the situation. Second, we have individualism and communitarism. Individualistic cultures like Japan, the US, and Thailand value independence and personal responsibilities. Communitarian cultures, on the other hand, focus on group identity, shared responsibility, and collective decision-making. Third, we have neutral versus emotional. In neutral cultures such as Japan and the UK, people tend to control their emotions and avoid open displays of feelings. In emotional cultures like Mexico and Venezuela, people express their emotions openly through gestures, tone, and lively interaction. This emotional expressiveness was very visible during the event, especially in how warmly the Hispanic community engaged with others. Let's continue with the next set of Trompenaars cultural dimensions. 4. Specific versus diffuse. In specific cultures like the US, UK and Austria, people separate work from personal life, are direct, and value personal space. In diffuse cultures like Venezuela, Spain and China, people blend work and private life more closely and are often more indirect in communication. 5th. Achievement versus ascription. In achievement cultures such as Austria, Switzerland, and the US, the status is earned based on performance and accomplishment. In ascription cultures like Venezuela, China, and Indonesia, status is often based on age, background, or title. 6. Sequential versus synchronous time. Sequential time cultures like the US prefer doing one thing at a time, follow fixed schedule, and value punctuality. In contrast, synchronous time cultures like France and Mexico see time as flexible, multitask, and prioritize relationship over timetables. The last dimension is about how people relate to the environment, internal versus external control. In inner-directed cultures like the US, Japan, and Switzerland, people believe that they control their own fate and take charge of the outcomes. In outer-directed cultures like China and many Asian countries, people adapt more and go with the flow. Let's move on to my observations at the event and how I relate them to Hofstede and Trompenaars dimension of culture. So, first up, time. We arrived at 3 p.m, which was the stated start time. But the event, it didn't officially begin until around 4:30 p.m. At first, I thought maybe something went wrong, but then I remembered Hispanic cultures tend to have a synchronic approach to time. This means time is viewed more fluidly. People focus more on the flow of relationships than the pressure of a fixed schedule. Now, let's compare it to us Malaysian. I think we usually say being late is disrespectful, right? But for them, it's just a part of a rhythm of life. No stress, just connection. At the beginning, I noticed many of the participants looked quite serious, especially the lady at the Spanish booth. I was honestly nervous to even say hi, but the moment we started talking, it was like a switch flipped. She smiled, she laughed, she made me feel so welcome. This reflects an emotional culture where people are comfortable showing their feelings openly once trust is established. It reminded me that warmth can take time to appear, but when it does, it's genuine. Has anyone experienced that kind of change in energy when traveling or meeting someone new? Now, this one's a little tricky. At the Spanish booth, there was a quiz about Spanish culture. I answered some questions confidently, but my friend struggled a little bit. The presenter seemed slightly offended, not in a rude way, but I could tell that their cultural pride mattered a lot. This ties into high power distance, a value where people expect a certain level of respect, especially when discussing about their heritage. It made me more aware of how important cultural knowledge can be when you are engaging internationally. Okay, this part was honestly my favorite, karaoke and dancing. The crowd was so full of life. They sang their hearts out to Macarena, Gasolina, and even invited strangers to dance. This reflects to an indulgent culture, where people celebrate the moment, express themselves freely, and live life with patience. It was so beautiful to watch. I almost joined it, but I chickened out and pretended to take pictures instead. Anyone would have done the same? Lastly, something unexpected. We wanted to take photos with the participants just for memories, but some of them hesitated, and one guy even politely declined. This reflects to a diffuse culture where people separate their personal life and their public life. Even in a social event, they protect their privacy. Interestingly, the same guy who didn't want to be in our photo took a picture of us instead. Maybe that's how he wanted to be remembered. To summarize, I learned that Hispanic cultures are emotionally expressive, spontaneous, and value strong community bonds. Cultural pride and hierarchy shape their communication, especially in high-power distance settings. And finally, they view time more flexible, unlike Malaysian, who generally expect punctuality in formal situations. Alright, before we wrap up, let's do a quick quiz. The question is, Which cultural dimension best explains why the Hispanic event started late and no one seemed too concerned? Is it A. High power distance, B. Achievement culture, C. Synchronic time culture, or D. Neutral culture? The correct answer is C. Synchronic time culture. In many Hispanic cultures, time is more flexible and the focus is on enjoying the moment and building relationships rather than sticking strictly to the clock. Congrats! To give you all a better feel of what the event was really like, I've prepared a short montage video of my experience at the celebration of the Day of Spanish Language. It captures some of the highlights from the cultural booth to the performances and food. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoy being there. Let's roll the video.
Take it.